All right, this tutorial is going to be about how to make this effect, this spooky effect. And have you seen the movie called The Ring? It's how to do this sort of blurry face scenario on any photograph, any face. And we're going to start off in Lightroom. And I've got an image here. This is a photograph that my grandfather took many years ago. And it's a color image. So you could start off, let's get back up here to the top, and you could start editing it and making it look correct with the color and all. But let's just go straight and turn this into a black and white image. Okay. And because it's spooky, let's make it kind of on the dark side. And we can mess around with the contrast, maybe give some details to the sky. And what I'm going for is I want it overall to look dark, but I still want to have detail in her face. Okay. Now we can come in Photoshop and just selectively lighten or darken certain areas as we want. Okay. So I'm just going to work my way down. When I get to the black and white window, I can adjust these sliders. And you might be thinking, but wait, why are there color sliders, but it's a black and white image? But you're adjusting the colors that are sort of underneath this black and white image that were in the original color slide. So like what were the aquas? It's a little bit in the sky here. And you can just fine tune your image to make it the way you'd like it. All right, so you can go ahead and work on that. And then come down here to effects and give it a little bit of a vignette to make it look kind of darker on the edges, and maybe give it some grain to make it look even a little more old-timey. Now, another thing you can do is over here on the left-hand side, if you look under presets, which is usually compressed here, there are all sorts of filters, if you want to call it, that Lightroom gives to you. And I'm going to go here because I've looked through these, but spend some time looking through these filters. And I am going to, these are some of the black and white filters that are going to give me the effect that I'm going for. And I think I'm going to go for, let's see, either like sepia tone. I think I'm going to go for antique. Now, when I chose that, it seemed to get lighter, didn't it? So I'm going to go back to exposure and darken it even. Ooh, now we're starting to get kind of spooky, right? Remember, I said we can come in and lighten things. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to go to File, Export, and I'm going to export this to Photoshop. All right, so my image is here. And like I said, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see the face. And to selectively lighten, I'm going to use this tool over here, which is the burn, or if I hold my mouse down and press, a submenu shows up, and dodge. Dodge lightens areas. And you'll see here's my brush. If I press the bracket keys, which are the two keys to the right of the P, I can make my brush larger or smaller. I want to come up to my exposure here, and I want to make it maybe around 13, 15, around there. And then I just click and paint over her face to lighten it just a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to minimize that a little bit. I'm going to select burn, and I'm going to burn the edges even a little bit more. so that she stands out even more. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this background layer by right click, duplicate layer. Okay, so I'm going to make this effect on her face on this copy, this layer. So now I'm going to come up to filter, blur, blur, motion blur. Okay, and let's put it over her face because that's what we're looking at. Do we like that? Is that enough of a blur? I think that's a good blur. All right, and let's apply that. And you're like, what? The whole picture looks blurry. So what we can do is put a mask on that by clicking on this icon down here. It says add a layer mask. Okay, the mask is transparent right now because it's white, but if we press Control I, that makes the mask black. So what we've done is we did this blur effect, and now we've covered up that blur effect with the black mask. So if we come up here and paint using the brush tool with white paint, that's basically erasing away the mask. Let me zoom in here so you can see what's going on. So we're going to paint with making sure we have white paint. Okay, so we're going to erase away the mask. So I make sure I have the mask selected, not the picture, just where her face is. Okay, and if you look here, okay, so now, doesn't that look nice? Okay, I'm going to fit the screen. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eyeball off of that layer and eyeball on. Okay, so now we get to see that effect. And that's it. So it was all pretty easy. But you've learned a whole bunch of new techniques. So now we're just going to save it. File, save as, and save it into your Google Drive. But you want to make sure you save it as a JPEG. Okay, and when you save it as a JPEG, these layers are going to go away. It's going to be compressed down to one layer. All right, there you have it. Your amazing The Ring effect.